Hey traders, Ragi here, and to kick off this premium video for Monday, let's begin with a few basics. We have a lot of new members. Welcome. It's great to have you. Welcome to the team. And we're here to lock arms with you. And one of the ways that we can best help you out is just knowing how to keep in touch. And so let's take a few minutes to talk about that. And one of the ways we do that is with the Simpler Trading mobile app. This is something you can download and install to your smartphone, Android or Apple. Heck, you could run this on your iPad. And so what this does is allow for push notification of the different trade ideas, alerts that myself, Neil, and David have in the futures room. So once you log in with the same username, with the same credentials you would use to log into your desktop application of Simpler Trading, you'd use that to log into the room in the Simpler Trading mobile app. We have folks at the office. You can reach out to the tech team. You can reach out to us here at the office, and we have folks that can help you if you're having issues setting it up, okay? So you can most certainly keep up with us in this way. The different alerts that occur, by the way, in the room, and let me show you all something here because it'll kind of go infinity. Okay, so this is the chat room that you guys are used to seeing. Now this is after hours, so clearly it's a little different looking right now. But in the upper left-hand corner right here, you'll notice there's a section for alerts right here. Oop, went too far with that arrow. There's a section for alerts. The general chat is here. And then, of course, the video is here. All the alerts are housed and left in this area for usually weeks, if not months at a time. So you could scroll back. Let me tell you this. We can scroll back to, look at that, middle of February. And even then, you could download the text of the previous alerts from the last few months. So we leave those up there for y'all to refer to. And so whether you log into the room and get them, or if you log into your app for the push notification, or if you're in the room with us, there's a lot of redundancy on these different alerts. And then the other thing I want to mention is logging into the members area. So there's a lot of different, whether you're on trial with us, whether you're a full-time member with us, either way, there's a lot of support material, and it's done in a very do-it-at-your-own pace type of organization. So when you go into the memberships, and whatever you're a member to, your username knows it. And so if you click on the dashboard for futures, you'll notice that yes, the room archives are there. All right, the premium daily videos are there, and all the old ones too, the previous ones. The Learning Center, a lot of great material in the Learning Center. Member webinars, previous member webinars are archived for those of you that are learning the process from David, Neil, and myself. David's premium content, this is kind of an extra bonus to being a futures member. You get David's Elliott Wave Dispatch. The trade spreadsheet will be coming back. We're doing a lot less day trading. Well, we are still doing a lot of day trading, but I'm putting out some end of day trades as well. The trade spreadsheet will be back, and we've had different Forex videos and updates as well. So there's a lot that you can access here as part of your membership. Okay, so I just want to take a few minutes to let you guys know about all of that. All right, let's dive into today's alerts, and also another thing that I do, which are the notes. Now, speaking of the alerts and the alert section of the room, when I have notes, I push them out as an alert, and I push them out in the chat room as well. So there's a number of ways you can access them. You can refer to them on your phone, your iPad, or your desktop. You don't need any kind of special software. I create one unlisted, this is a private alert I send to members. So you need the HTML link. You need the link, the URL, as they say. And it's just a HTML page, which means it'll just open up on Safari on your phone, or Chrome on your phone, or whatever browser you use on your desktop. You don't need to log into anything, all right? And you'll get all these different notes that I share with you all. Now, a couple things. So these are Monday's notes. So when you click on the dot, it'll expand it, right? If there is, and let me take the dark reader off this because it's a little easier to see. So here is, see how there's a little outline around that? That means it expands out. and that means it expands out. See, there's no dark circle kind of in colored. If there's no dark circle colored, right, then there's nothing to expand out. See how these are not circled? There's nothing to expand out. So these are the notes from today. And then, this is where you can absolutely keep up with a lot of the things that I'm talking about in the chat room and the things that I'm making notes of for myself. All right, so these are the different notes that I send out only to members every day. And I think there's a lot of good information here that will not only apply to today, but going forward. So a lot of things to discuss. I sent out a few alerts on currencies today. You'll see that in the alert section. And then accompanying that, I talk about what the guidelines are for those of you that on the pound alert today and on the Australian dollar alert today might want to play 6B, 6A, FXB, or FXA. And then I also showed you how it is that I like to buy options, which takes you to another list of guidelines. All right, so very cool software that allows me to share a lot of things. And then if you do want to open a free account, this is a free service. I mean, you could pay for it. I think it's $5 a month. Okay, I still use the free version. Everything that I'm sharing with you here is the free version. And if you have an account that you set up, you can import my notes every day while you're a member. And I think these notes, quite frankly, are really, really helpful. They're going to help you learn what I'm seeing, and then you can see the notes over the course of weeks or months or, however long you keep the notes. All right, so today really what I discuss here is the day trading disconnect and what it was and possibly why we're seeing it. So what was the disconnect today? And a lot of you probably know at this point. Now, first of all, you'll notice I did not send out alerts. Why? I wasn't actively trading today. I didn't like even the currency lineup was pretty odd today, where Australian dollar was sort of strong, but Canadian dollar was really weak. US dollar and yen were pretty strong. Things were all over the place today. And I think a lot of that has to do with the rebalancing of the end of the month and end of the quarter, not to mention just the complete insanity that we're having in terms of market psychology in this coronavirus affected environment. But how do we know there's a disconnect? We've talked about this before. In fact, just Friday, we had talked about this, but I thought, what, let's put some guidelines here for those of you that are new. What is the disconnect? And the disconnect comes from this. The yen strength versus index futures strength. That's a disconnect because one should be weak, one should be strong. It's a negative or inverse correlated effect. All right. Who's right or who's wrong isn't really the issue. It doesn't matter because if there's a disconnect, that's a warning, right? And that's a warning. So that's something to keep in mind. And it should have you realize that risk taking in this environment is you don't have an advantage. You don't have the usual advantage that you would have. So I talk about what day trading disconnect is, and that's pretty easy to understand. And then what are the choices you have? Let's talk about that. So when these are at odds, right, meaning not in harmony, there are three choices. Acknowledge but ignore, which would have had you long the ESNQ, YM, RTY to varying degrees. Just trade what you see as these indices were heading higher, bouncing off the V-score, green grab candles above the volume weighted average prices. I think that's huge. And that's a huge part of, if you're like, okay, Rod, give me something really basic that I can hang my hat on to understand if we're on the bullish or bearish side of something. And I'll tell you that once we start establishing price action clearly above the time anchored volume weighted average price lines, these three cyan lines right there, by 10 o'clock, we're pretty clearly above them. And then all day we're above them. 2 o'clock, nice bounce. You're not shorting this market. You're not shorting it. Even though the yen is telling you one thing, this is a completely disconnected market. The sooner you can recognize a disconnect, meaning the yen's going one way, indices are going another, the yen's strong and yet indices are above the volume weighted average price anchored, those three lines, there's your disconnect. So you have two choices. Go trade the Canadian dollar versus Japanese yen. Go trade the Canadian dollar versus US dollar. Go short the Canadian dollar. That was the weakest currency on the on the FinViz. And then your other choice is just trade what you see and get long the indices. Or choice number 3, do nothing, which is perfectly fine, But you're not going to short this because there's no setup for it. There's just no setup for it. Complete disconnect. A couple times we topped out at +2. You can see there was a quick pullback, but not enough because we kept going higher and higher and higher and higher. And then this is a really important point, and I wasn't with you all this morning. I will be with you all tomorrow. But when we have our initial balance numbers, so this is 10:30, this is 9:30, that's the first 60 minutes of the day. Okay, here's your high, and we broke the high right there. That is what's known as an initial balance breach, Okay? So once that happens, we have a bullish bias on the market, despite what the yen was doing. Again, if you're just kind of focusing on this, we have an initial balance breach. Now we're bullish on the market. And what that does, and you can see that happen right here, that opens up buys along the volume weighted average price. So we look for basically corrections to the VWAP, which is this right here, the time anchored VWAP. So a lot of you who have been with me a while say, oh, Rog, yeah, this is a 60-minute high breach, and that opens up the VWAP buys. And yes, I know the yen is kind of strong, but, it's just one of those days. It's the rebalancing. It's the end of the month. It's the end of the quarter. I'm prepared for the wonkiness, and so I'll play this, even though there's a disconnect, with smaller size. It's not really a short. It's a little aggressive, but you'll notice I was pretty quiet in terms of day trades because really the only thing to do would be focus on the long side after we had the initial balance breach. And then all of a sudden, it got pretty close. That was an easy hit. And so you can see the structure of the ES said, I don't care that the yen is mildly strong. I mentioned earlier this morning it was kind of a mildly bearish market. I don't care that the yen is mildly strong. Either I'm going to do nothing or I literally have got to disconnect between the two narratives. Meaning I can play yen strength against Canadian dollar. I can play US dollar strength against the Canadian dollar. And I can buy the indices. I can buy pullbacks to the VWAP on the indices that made an initial balance breach before 11:30 Eastern. All right. So this is less about what's to come. I sent out the alerts for that. I'll be with you guys in the morning and I'll send out a whole lot more by way of alerts for the currencies that I've got my eye on. But this is a great video to watch to prepare for our day trading tomorrow. And you guys know a lot of what I've been doing the last few weeks, even really gang the last few months. We've been doing a lot of day trading and we've been slaying it. We didn't have a single day trading loss last week. Not a single one. Because, and here's really why. We're very much waiting for that edge. We have a specific structure. Until that specific structure happens, you'll notice I'll not send out alerts. And it's not because I'm not trading. It's because it's not because I'm not showing you my trades, right? It's because I'm not trading. Okay? So it's okay to be flat. It's okay to be selective, right? Deploy your capital when you feel you have an edge. And it's like poker. What do? We fold our hand if we don't have something to play. I think there's a lot of wisdom to be found in that approach, okay? So great prep in this video for tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow at 9:20. We'll be trading to 11:15, 11:30. You're going to see the same process, the same conversations, the same tools, the same questions again and again and again. And if you watch me do this for a month or two, you're going to find how process-driven this is and how repeatable and how productive it actually can be, okay? This is the feedback I get from you guys. So as always, thanks for being a member. Thanks for trusting the process. Thanks for being willing to learn the process, okay? It does work. It does work. I'll see you in the next update.